Hey, folks, it's Dave here in Studio B, and I want to do something a little different tonight. I was kicking back and I had a couple things in mind. Let me just make sure my sound is okay. Okay, yep, sorry about that. I just have to check my sound, make sure I don't have the robot voice. Um, you know what I haven't done in a long time? I haven't done the video diary series that started the whole digital to dice thing back in 2019. Okay, that's kind of where this all started. And if you listen to anything we said over the years, or even my speech at Play out in Colorado, I talked about like how this all got started, and it started with some video diaries is what it was. And I thought it'd be fun to pick that up from time to time and go back to this journey I've been on, for the last 6, now going on 7 years. And in 2019, again, it's when I started doing some video diaries, talking about me leaving video games and coming into the dice games. Okay, that's kind of where I was going with the video diary thing. And after a couple of episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, maybe 4, it just, the editing got to me, and that's when we turned into a podcast. Okay, so that's where we are today. And I think I did one while walking the dog one time. I just held my phone and talked into it. And I didn't want to be one of those guys, but I was one of those guys at one point. And I want to go back to that. So we're going to pick up where we left off 6 years ago for tonight's show. And this is video diary number 5. And it's comparing video games to the dice games. And I'm talking the Xbox and the PC games, not so much the sports sim games that we do. And I got a little list here. I created some pros and cons for both, and I thought I'd talk about that tonight. Now that I've had 6 years, basically, or so, of playing these board games, and it really gives me a chance to kind of reflect back on where I've gone in 6 years. As we have some people in the chat room here, and John comes by. He was first. John was first. And John's got some great games, too, and I'll probably have to talk about that tonight. Vinny stops by. Hi, Vin. And Vin, I was just checking out. Oh, here's a little tease for tomorrow night, Sunday night. Version 2, Quick Decks Hockey Ice Action cards are in the house. So I'm supposed to have Grant on tomorrow night after I do my my game in New Hampshire. I got a game in New Hampshire tomorrow I forgot about. But we're going to have him on, and we're going to talk about these new cards. We're going to take a look at them, see what's going on. Kevin comes by. And Mr. Joe comes by as well. And Mr. Steve Tower comes by. His name is, yes, it is Dave Gardner. I'm no longer a newbie. Yeah. You got socks older than that? Yeah. That's how it goes sometimes. And yes, I look young for 6. Anyway, before I get going, I do want to say, do what I did tonight. I hooked up a DVD player. Okay, this is just kind of me talking here before I get to the meat and potatoes. We've been canceling our streaming services. I'm finding that, we've kind of watched everything we want to watch, and we're spending too much money on that. So we started canceling the Hulu and the Netflix and all that other stuff. And I even called and changed my cable bill and brought that down. So we're starting to save a little bit of money per month that we just didn't need to spend on that kind of stuff. But I come downstairs and I found I had a ton of old videos, especially like behind me here. See that stack? That's my Godzilla stack. And the problem is when I stream these Godzilla movies, and I've bought in some and some are free, they're all in Japanese with the subtitles in English. And as bad as the English dub is, I don't like to have to read everything at the bottom to follow along, because if I'm reading, I'm not watching. And I remember all of these have the English. And so it's like the only way I can really watch my old Godzilla movies is to use a DVD player. So I picked up just a simple DVD player and hooked it up tonight. And one of the movies I watched was from 1966, I think it was. It was Daimajin, it was called. It was set back in Japan in the 1500s with the warlords and the swords and all that stuff there. And it was about one warlord that enslaved another set of people from another warlord. And they were, just basically treating him terrible. And the big statue and guy in the mountain come down from the mountain and started destroying things. So it was basically a kaiju movie. It was basically like a Godzilla type of movie. And the guy always scared me. He had this big green mad face and so I have that on Blu-ray, and I watched that tonight. on the DVD player. So I watched the movie. I haven't seen all the way through in quite some time, and it's something you can't stream, at least not in English. So I had some fun with that. So that is that. Anyway, let's. I don't have a Betamax, but I still have a VCR. And a few years ago I dug out some of my old band stuff and I transferred it to YouTube. So some of that stuff is here. All right, so here's some of the things over the last 6 years that have kind of jumped out at me as I started to make my list. One of the things about video games, and I'm talking, the Maddens, the Call of Duties, and Skyrims and things like that you play on the console or the PC, that was a much bigger hobby. Just the breadth of how many people played, how many copies of Madden were sold, of Call of Duty. Sometimes you hear these stories of how many millions of people are playing a game at any one time on Steam or whatever that number is. It's insane, the amount of people. So it's a bigger hobby when you're doing the video gaming thing compared to the dice stuff, okay? However, with playing tabletop sports games, and I'll just refer them as dice games right now, and that'll include facts and all that other stuff. It's way smaller, but it's much more on a personal level. Okay, and everything about that is more personal. Like I talked to so many game developers throughout these 6 or 7 years, and I don't think I've talked to many video game developers. If they were the real small little guys. The one guy that made a game one time, and and I met him at the PAX East in Boston, and things like that. But it was never the quote big guys or even the medium guys. It was always the smaller people. And the only time you ever got to talk to somebody is one of the big guys is when they had their reps at the show. And so it just was. Video games were bigger, and you just felt like this big in the video game thing, and you just didn't matter. Whereas the dice games, where there's a lot less people playing these, and every customer is really important. I just feel it's way more of a personal thing, and I've been able to talk to that make these games. In fact, I've been able to even beta test and play test some of these games. I've been able to maybe influence what season they wanted to produce next, or have a hand in fine tuning something maybe. Which, with the video games, not too much of that. I did a little bit of that, but not as nearly as much as I'm doing with the dice games. And so that's the first thing I will say, that video games, I mean, there's just millions of people playing video games compared to what we're doing here. Okay. And AP likes the Mariners shirt. Yeah, I had this on today after I got home from the gym, and the Redskins hat. Yeah, I just kind of threw something on. Sometimes I dress for the part, and sometimes I just kind of just throw on whatever's comfortable. Again, I went to the gym today. Oh, that's the time to go to the gym. 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon. There's nobody there. I got on every machine. I didn't have to wait for nothing. That's pretty good. So that's one of the things. The big thing for me, the probably the biggest thing about dice games, okay, again, tabletop games, sports sim games, is playing old seasons. That is really one of the things that drew me to this hobby many years ago. When I was playing my video games and I was having my problems with my dexterity, and I'll get to dexterity in a minute, I put in Football Mogul, which was my very first sports sim game that I can remember, okay? And I went back and started playing 1976. I mean, that was just insane. At the time, that was insanity. You never even thought about that in any games I played. I could go back as far as 1990, 91 on the Sega. That's as far back as I could go with anything that I had. Okay, any video game I had, that was it. When you had the Nintendo, it was generic. It didn't have the teams. Sega Genesis, 90-91 was the very first time that you could actually play teams. And then again, every year from that, they made the new season. But you could never go back any further than that. There was no Bobby Orr. There was no Tony Esposito. There was no, Bernie Prawn. There was none of that. So old seasons, I'm going to make a check next to that. That is probably the biggest draw for me. When I found out I could play 1976 football on Football Mogul, I was like, wow. And then I found out that you could play these other games and order old seasons and get the cards on the table or the team sheets or whatever it was. That I find is the biggest draw for me. And I still, I guess because of licensing, I would imagine that that's why the NFL doesn't do it and the NHL don't do it. And to go back and create some older seasons for that. I know some people have done it on some Sega games and some PS2 games. They've gone back and they've modded old seasons on there. I think somebody actually did 74-75 with the Sega Genesis. I'd like to go find that mod. That would be kind of fun to do. But yeah, although if there's a way around it with the cards and dice community, whereas, you can't trademark names and stats, I think that's the way around it. I don't see why, NHL, whatever, 26 couldn't do that. Or, Madden couldn't go back and create a classic season. Maybe it's a bigger deal because they're bigger companies. Maybe. But playing the old seasons, the old teams, the old players, the teams that I watched growing up, that is the biggest difference for me between video games and board games is I can go back into my past and play those teams. Now, with video games, you can go back and you can play the Pac-Man and the Asteroids and Pitfall and all those other games that we played as a kid. So they are available, and I've gone back and played them. And honestly, you play those games for 5 or 10 minutes, and you've had your fun. It really is. It's not the same with the video games. And I don't know how else to describe that, but I know when I go back and I pull out an old Atari game or something like that and I play it, I get 5 or 10 minutes out of it, and then it's like, okay, I want to move on to I want to do something else because this is, and the controls were so bad. My favorite game on the Atari was Circus Circus. In Circus Circus, you had all the balloons at the top, and it was kind of like Breakout. And at the bottom, you had this teeter-totter, and you had the two clowns, okay? So one clown would hit, and the other clown would go up, and then you hit. And so the idea was send him up into the balloons, and you break the balloons, and he would land. And so it was a game of Breakout, but you were using this teeter-totter with these two clowns, hence Circus Circus. And you used the dial pad for it. And with the dial pad, it worked pretty well, but anything else besides the dial pad didn't work. So I try to play that game nowadays with joysticks, and it's not the same. It's just not the same as it was. Every now and then I'll put something again. I'll get 5 or 10 minutes out of it. And Kevin says, yeah, good point. I mean, seriously, if you try to go back and do that, see if you get more than 5, 10, 15 minutes out of it. And Steve says, Pitfall, that's worth a shot. Pitfall was fun. There was a meme the other day I saw, and it said, the guy says, I told my son I would take him out to dinner. I'd buy him a new video game if he could finish this one. And it was Pitfall. So his son had to finish Pitfall, I can't believe modern video games don't have the ability to replay prior seasons. If they think of that, what will happen to our community? I don't think it would change a heck of a lot. And the other thing is, Kevin, I don't know if that community would want that. I mean, because what would happen is you'd get a half dozen people, 500,000 people that would want this season, another half that would want this season, another want this season. Would it be worth it for them to try to create that? It would be interesting. Don't get me wrong. I think it'd be really kind of fun if one football, hockey, baseball, whatever it was, created a past season. If it would sell, if they sold it for $20 or $50 or $60 or $80 or $100, how that would sell on video games. That's something I never really thought about, to be honest with you. So yeah, I kind of wonder what that would be if they even tried that. And John comes by. Hi, John. And I don't know if I'm the biggest fish. I'm just big. Although I am going to the gym, so I am losing a little bit of weight. So here we go. And Vinny said the target audience is a lot younger, so the older seasons wouldn't be as appealing. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is that these younger kids that are playing these games younger than us, they're not going to care about 70s or 80s. I mean, maybe a Gretzky season or a whatever, a Big Poppy season or whatever. I don't know, or Babe Ruth, whatever you will. But and the likeness of the players is still off. Yeah, that's the other thing about a lot of this. Although if you think about it, again, I'm kind of all over the place right now. If you think about franchise hockey manager and Out of the Park baseball, right? They're both games, and they go back in time. Like I love that for historical things. Go back to their with 70 season or whatever. And so they're there, and there's a video game, if you call that a video game, it's a sports sim game, but it's on the computer, and that goes back in time. So I'm kind of wondering, and as far as player likeness and image, if there's create generic plays, they don't have to look exactly like that. Mike in the truck says you can use player names and stats because that was found in a court case to be public domain. Okay. But you still have to be careful when using player names and stats because of Eric Dickerson in the 80s. He said he would sue anyone that uses info, so everybody backed off of him. Interesting. And John stopped playing video games when the Browns won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's the only time the Browns and the Cowboys will win a Super Bowl is in Madden, right? Vinny says the big thing is realistic stats. You don't get that with console games. And that's a good point. And I'm going to make that point here. So I'm going to put realistic stats. I'm going to give that to the board games compared to, and again, when I'm saying video games, I'm referring to the consoles and the PC. I'm not referring to our sports sim games. When I play any of the games on my Xbox and my PlayStation, when I was doing that, hockey was the worst one. And you know why? Because it didn't play like a hockey game. It's not their fault. And I've said this on the show many times. It's not the fault of EA or 989 Sports or whoever, is creating the hockey games, ESPN hockey, whatever game it was. It's how you play it. And you can't play it like a hockey game. It's basically U10 soccer where everybody runs to the ball. Everybody runs to the puck. You ever seen a little kid soccer game when everyone's chasing the ball? That's kind of what hockey is on, EA Sports and whoever else made the hockey. It's just get the puck, go to the net. Maybe a one-time shot from time to time, but you're not going into the corners. There's so much hockey that's not in it, at least from what I saw. It could be different now because I haven't played in a few years, but it wasn't hockey. It was an arcade version of hockey, which is what they wanted. They wanted it sped up. They wanted it crazy because that's what sells. And so that's what I would imagine if you tried to play a realistic hockey game, it would be boring as heck, and none of these kids would want to play it. So that's probably why they do it. So if I want realistic stats or realistic gameplay, I go to the table. And when I roll my dice on baseball or football, it feels better. Although I will say the Madden is probably the best for that because that you really get into more football that way. That feels like football because you got the runs to the left, runs to the right, screen pass. So I would say the football might be the best out of that. But the hockey, not so much. Basketball is almost the same way. You try to move it around and just take the shot, and it didn't feel much like real basketball. But hockey was the worst one for video games as far as I was concerned. But as far as the stats go, I don't think anybody cares about the stats. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to go out on a lot of limbs here, all right? But I'm the old man, yelling at the cloud right now, as somebody said in the chat. I don't think that people who are playing, I say kids, and I mean people 40 and under when I say kids, okay, from 15 to 40, let's say. I don't think they're too worried about their end of the season stats. They're there to rack up the wins. A lot of times they just like destroying the other team, 72 to nothing in football, 25 to 2 in hockey. It's not about getting the stats right in those games. It's just about winning the game. That's my feeling, is that not many people go into the stats and start looking around and say, "Oh man, look at this guy. He's got this." Yeah. Some probably do, but I think it's more about winning the game and then going on to the next game and just looking at the standings and playoffs and really not too worried about individual stats like we do on our table when we sit there and go, "Oh wow, look at this guy. Look what he did today at the plate," or Joe Montana had 3 touchdown passes, or Brad Park had 2 goals for the Rangers in my game tonight. So I think it's a great point that Vin brought up. The realistic statistics is more important, and I think a little more accurate in what we do. Not that they're not making the video games accurate. That's not what I'm saying, but it's how people are playing them. It's how people are playing them. And Michael comes in. I'm a little behind in the chat. Sometimes an older season requires additional resources and research. Yep, that's it too. Kevin says his 19-year-old son has no interest in replaying past games. Yep. So that is that. And somebody loves John's view. Yep. Was that the Browns one? Yeah. The new version of Football Mogul is released. Yes, I'm going to get with Clay on that. We're going to have him on, and Clay's going to talk to us about that, some of the new things. And I asked him a bunch of questions. And we talked about personal versus, video games. I just got a message from a game designer. Video game people never sent me messages or never responded to messages, or very few. But as I'm sitting here talking, I'm conversing with some game designers right now about different things. And I was talking to Clay the other day. He wants to come on and we're going to talk the new Football Mogul. He's going to show me how I can play both offenses in a game. Really looking forward to that. Let's see here. So Football Mogul is out. AP is correct. John in Dallas says, but OTP is licensed by Major League Player Association. That might help them too. Well, for the longest time, Franchise Hockey Manager was not. They are recently. But going back to Franchise Hockey Manager 2, which is what I played a lot of, one of my most played games, they were not. It's still, but again, there was no likeness. It was just the player. And I think some people made mods for the likeness, but again, mods are mods, Mike in the truck says even XOR NFL Challenge backed off of Dickerson, and they had the NFL and the union rights. They named him Dick Erickson. That's pretty good. Yes, Vinny picked it up to support Clay. And Vin, that's one thing we haven't talked about. Did you even get a chance to play Football Mogul? Because I just find it was just sit back and click, and it was very relaxing. I did, and that is one of the good things about the sports sim games. And Vinny's also playing some Apple Hockey, and he's 24-25 is sold out. Really? Well, that should be back in that should be back pretty soon. They're not out of stock very long. So hang on to that. Some Roads comes by. Thanks for coming by, Some Roads, And Kevin says, when I can win the national championship when Montana with inferior players, it's not appealing to me. So I guess it all depends. The sim games are much more realistic than video games. I think so. Sim games are much more realistic. That's just my gut. My gut is telling me they're not there for the stats. They are there for you to be entertained playing their game. Hence, they really try with the hockey where they had, you can tie the puck against the boards and jostle for the puck. No one wants to do that. Nobody wants to battle against the boards. They want to get the puck. They want to skate in and slap and score and do the selly. They want to get 20 goals a game. That's what people want to do when they play the hockey games, And yes, Al Wilson's store is now open, so you can get some stuff. I need to get another scoreboard from him for baseball, just a simple one, And Vinny always tracks his stats, so that's important. And yeah, that's a good point, John. ESPN, the E comes first, and cards and dice about the stats. I think that's a pretty big thing too. Yeah, I saw. The more I think about it, that really wasn't on my list till Vinny brought that up. So I'm glad Vinny was here. the realistic stats, yeah, that's definitely got to go to our hobby because that's what it's designed for. It's designed to. That's why we play. We play to see what kind of stats we get, and we play to see how close we can come, and what players excel and what players don't. And that's again, that's some of the reasons that we play. Not all, but some of the reasons we play. And Barbara says stats are important to her when she's playing, and she's always tracking her stats. Yep. Okay, Vinny did play Football Mogul, and he liked it. Yeah, okay. And Vinny, yeah. So Vinny says he got 69.70, and he wants 24.25. I didn't get 24.25. I went with the 2001 to get Ray Bork, and I don't know if I'm going to get 24.25 for Appa or not, or even Hockey Bones. I'm not 100% sure. I think I talked about this on the podcast that me and Vin did last week. Is that at first I was real excited to get it. But again, you got to wait till they finish it. And every day that went by, I just became less and less motivated to play that. So right now, my motivation is not as high as it was when the season ended. And yes, Action PC Hockey's coming. I got to place an order for that because that's supposed to be out this week. So I need to get that pre-order in. Thanks for reminding me. Getting back to my comparison of video games to board games, we talked about video games being bigger, but the board games, the dice games, a little bit more personal. I feel as though I can play test games. I feel like my input, as well as everybody else's input, has some sway, if you will. So you can talk to the developers of the game, and they might ask what season, or maybe there's a change that needs to be made, or what game that they want to make next. I mean, John Turnbull, who's here in the chat room here. Every time people announce a new co-op project or something, he drops a new season for it. That's something you don't get with the bigger companies with video games. So that is that. Another thing. Well, let me talk about some of the good things for video games. Okay, I don't want to just dump on video games. That's not what I'm here for. I had 30 years of video game play. Okay. With the video games, there's less time to set up. Let's just face it. You push the power button and you go right into the game and you're playing. And sometimes that's all you want to do. Sometimes, even myself, I come down here, I don't want to have to set up a whole table full of cards, whatever it is, Appa or football or Hockey Bones or whatever it is, whatever game I'm playing. Sometimes I just want to just kick back and play a game. And that's where the video games really shine, is everything's right there. The other thing that really shines is they do all the setup. They do all the setup. You just click and go, and they keep all your stats too. So you're not plugging away, writing stats down, whether inputting them or whatever. So your game, as you play it, will keep your stats. So again, if you're playing Madden or you're playing MLB The Show or whatever you're playing for a video game, even Call of Duty, it keeps track of all your kills, right? And your kill-death ratio and things like that. So the video games, they do a lot of the heavy lifting, and sometimes that's what you're in the mood for. You just want to play the game, and that's it. And you don't want to set up, you don't want to break down, you want to mainly keep stats, you don't want to do all the bookkeeping, if you will. And so that's where video games really do shine. They do a lot of things like that. So I'm checking off like the heavy lifting and the doing of the stats is really nice. And sometimes you like just to zone out and push buttons. And just even when I was playing, Madden back, and just sit there, you just that's it. You just play, and just have some fun with it. You're not worried about the stats at that point. You're just playing, having some games. But zoning out and pushing buttons means you're zoning out and pushing buttons. So sometimes that's not a good thing because you're zoned out. And when I'm playing here on the tabletop, I'm not zoned out. I'm focused on what I'm doing, and I'm exercising the mind. Let me put that here. So exercise the mind. Okay, that's a big part of this too. And one of the things that Grant talks about, he likes to make his games a little complex. So as we get older, we are challenged, and we are using our mind, and we're not just sitting there. We are thinking about what's going on. We have to figure it out. And so that's another good thing about playing these games here, is that you are thinking it. You have to learn the game. Okay, it's not about this anymore. It's about this. You're thinking about it. Okay, I'm going to read the rules. How do I interpret the rules? Am I getting it right? Am I playing it right? And I think we've all picked up a game and started playing it wrong, and then we watch someone else. We ask a question, it's like, "Oh, I've been playing that wrong." I've done that a lot. I think we all have. And then you go back and you play it the right way. But now you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it, and that's why probably I like to play so many different games, is because I'm learning different games and I'm challenging myself and I'm trying to remember how to play this, or I learn a new game here, I learn a new game there. Then I go back to something I haven't played in a year or two, and I'm trying to remember how to play it, and then oh yeah, it all comes back to you, and it feels good. It feels good when you learn a new game and you start to play it correctly. It just there's some pride with that, learning a game. I really do. I do think that, and I've said that to a few people before as well. Fenner coming by. Good to see you, Fenner. Oh, I got my cream soda tonight. I'm going to have that right now. Sorry about that. I've been loving the cream soda. I know I'm not supposed to have the stuff here, but a couple times a week when I come on with you guys, I like to have my cream soda. All right, back to the action here. And Kevin was addicted to video games. I was too. In fact, my Saturdays would consist of me going to the rink for 5 or 6 hours, coming home, and putting all the stats up on the website from the games that we did, and washing jerseys. And then around 5:30 after we had dinner, we would hook up with friends a few towns over, and my wife and me and them two, the four of us would play the zombies. And we would play till 11 or 12 at night. And in between rounds, I would go over and fold the jerseys, because I'd have all the jerseys on the ground over here. So the round would end, I go over and I count the jerseys and fold them and put them on the rack and go back. And so I was kind of doing double duty in between rounds. But that was my Saturday night for 5 or 6 years. Easy 5 or 6 years. We played the heck out of the zombies with those guys. And every time they had a new map, we'd have to download it right away and we'd play. And I remember it was the day after Christmas or Christmas Eve. I forget which one it was. It wasn't Christmas Day. No, it wasn't Christmas Eve either. It must have been the day after Christmas or 2 days. But it was right around Christmas. And what I'm getting at is that it was snowing out. It was really bad. And my Xbox 360 died. It just went black screen. So I think it was the video card went right in the middle of one of our zombie matches. And it was early in the night, too. It was like 7 o'clock. So I called GameStop up here, and I said, "Do you have a 360 Elite?" And it says, "Yeah, we do." So I ran up in the snow, skidding all over the place, got the 360, come home, plugged it in, had to get all the updates, download the game, download all the maps again, and within 45 minutes, I was up and running again. But that was my Saturday night. It was a snowstorm, and there we are, playing zombies all night, and I had to go buy a new Xbox to make it happen. But yeah, that was a good time. Mike of the Truck says, Tecmo Super Bowl is what I was saying about Madden. Super high scores. Who cares about the stats? And Tecmo is timeless fun. Yeah. Yep. Carter says he doesn't have the patience for dice games, so he does the PC games. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If you want to play whatever you want to play, that's the thing. Play whatever you want. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Some Road says, I love video games, and my choice is MLB The Show. Played many years ago. Has its fans and its haters, but it's a real nice spot for me as far as baseball gaming enthusiasts and highly customizable. That is the other thing that I do like about, and that's on my list, the video games, is customizing your character. Okay? Now, that goes for any game. And I've sat for a good 45 minutes to an hour in certain games customizing my character, getting my name right, getting my looks right, getting my armor right, or whatever it is. I've done that, and I remember the hockey game. There were 2 hockey games that come on. It must have been like 16 and 17, and you could customize your team and your ring. So I would create a team, and I would be all day going through all the logos, changing the stripes, changing the jersey, changing the helmet look, going to the goalies, customizing the goalie equipment. Then you go to your rink, you customize the rink, you can change the dashboards and the celebrations. I would be there for hours setting up a custom team look and a custom rink. That was really fun with video games. And then you could I'd only play a couple of games, but just you could see your team's creation. I remember I created a team. It was the Firebirds, and it had like a phoenix rising here, and I made the jerseys Tampa Bay Buccaneers colors. It was the orange, the red, and the white. and it was the Firebirds, and it was just a sweet, sweet looking jersey. And I had my home away, my alternate. I was all day creating that team, and I had a blast. And I had more fun doing that than I had playing the damn game. But yes, that is but that's some of the fun you have. So I'm going to check off customizing characters. That's something that I'll give that checkbox to the video games. Not that we can't customize things on our tabletop, and that's one thing is I'm going to check off over here on the dice games. You can customize your table. I know a lot of people, would put the helmets on the table when they play. So the little, whether it's football or baseball. Some guys, hockey guys, would put the little hockey mask on there. I know I had little nets I would put out here. I got my custom mat that I would do. I know Joe Cards has his custom dice trays that he likes to set up and make. And so we can customize our table here, much like you can on the video games as far as customizing your team and stuff. But it is kind of fun customizing your table here. So and that's where the personal touch comes in. It's fun doing it on the video game. Don't get me wrong. When I set up my rinks and my teams and uniforms, that was a lot of fun. But when I'm here on the table, I'm here touching, and that's something else here. Touching the cards, touching the table, touching the dice. That's something you can't do when you've got the controller in your hands and you're watching the TV. You can't touch anything. And I remember talking to Vinny, must have been a few weeks ago now, and he was saying how he had the Chicago Bears and he had his favorite Chicago Bears card in his hand. I said, how did you feel holding that card? He says, that was pretty darn cool. I said, wasn't it? When I take my Orr card or my Tony Esposito card, it's in my hand and I'm looking at it. It's so cool. There's no other feeling. You get that. You don't get that feeling with video games that you do when you're touching this. And it just feels good. It just feels very personal. It feels very more emotional, I would think, John says, is AI going to provide that space Dave's talking about now? All the setup, zoning out, let AI keep your stats and do setup. AI is not ready yet. I mean, AI is quite wrong a lot of the times. When I bought this DVD player the other day from Amazon, I found the Planet of the Apes TV series from 1974. Had all the seasons. I think there's 3 or 4 seasons, and it was $25. I was like, I will get this DVD. I will absolutely spend $25 on that TV show. Excuse me. And it said it's only available in PAL. Well, what is PAL? PAL is European, and so you need a DVD player that plays that Region 2, I think it was called. And so when I was looking at this DVD player, I says, will it play other formats? And the AI said it will play Region 1 and Region 2. That's what the AI said. So, oh, good, Region 2, it'll play this. And then as I did more digging and more digging and more digging, I finally get down to the point where it will not play PAL, which is Region 2. So the AI said it would, and then the AI and humans said it wouldn't. So AI is not quite there. In fact, sometimes you ask it for NHL rules and it gives you the wrong answer. So AI is not there, and I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of hoping AI gets squashed down. Too many people are losing their job to AI, and it's kind of sad the way it is. So I'm kind of hoping that it doesn't happen. So I'm hoping that AI won't do that, but yeah, it's just where we are right now. And Some Road says, cards and dice is also an awesome way to simulate the sports we love. Different flavors. Yeah. Yep. And the other thing, okay, I'm going to write this one down before I forget about it. I'm kind of making my list as I go, is your imagination. Video games are like watching a movie. Dice games are like reading a book. Your imagination can run wild with what you're playing on the tabletop. And we've all seen it. When we see our streamers here, Steve Tower was in early when he streams, and Dwayne March just jumps by, and, he streams his games, and you roll the dice and you get the results, and you build the story around that result. And someone was asking the other day, I think it was in the Apple football group, okay? And someone said, I got a result in Napa football that was minus 19 D2 on an interception, which means one of the linemen might be I think it's either the nose tackle or one of the tackles on the line of scrimmage, caught the ball 19 yards behind the line of scrimmage and intercepted it. And he's like, how is that happening? I never seen such a thing, Bob. And I've had that come up in my game too. It's like, well, build the narrative around that. The quarterback goes back to pass. Maybe he's chased back like Fran Tarkenton, and he goes to pass it, and the pass is blocked. It goes up in the air, and this guy, the lineman, it drops in his hands, and because they've been chasing the quarterback, he's now 19 yards behind the line of scrimmage making that catch. It happens. It's not impossible. And there's a lot of times that ball gets batted up and those big guys catch it. So I says, build your narrative around that. That's an actual play. And so that's the theater of the mind that happens. And every time I play these games, when it's a shot on net and it's in range, whatever game I'm playing, whether it's, highlight hockey or hockey bones or apple hockey, there's a thrill in that second dice roll to see if the goalie makes an unbelievable save or if it's going to go in the net. And that kind of theater of the mind is awesome. When you're getting all those rebounds in whatever hockey game you play, it's a shot and a save, and another save, and he dives across. He's made 3 saves in a row. That is super, super fun, and you're imagining this goalie just going left and right and making these saves. Or you get the odd defenseman that gets 2 goals. I've had that before. So how did this second line defenseman get 2 goals? Well, he took 2 shots. They both were in range. It went in. It's a crazy day. And you build a story around that. That's what you do. In fact, have you ever read a book and then saw the movie in that order? It is kind of fun doing that because I've read a couple of books and then I went and saw the movie in the theater. I think Alien was one of them. I think I read Alien and then I saw it in the theater. And it was fun seeing the characters in the movie compared to what I thought they looked like to my mind. Now, once you see the movie and you read the book, now you know what the characters look like so you can visualize a little bit better. But without seeing them, it's fun to try to visualize what they look like. And then when you see the movie, how close were you? That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah, so video games are like watching a movie. Dice games or simulations here are kind of like reading a book. You got the theater of the mind, it's called. Your imagination's got to run wild. It really does. Yeah, History Maker Golf. I need to pull that out. I need to relearn that. That's one of those I need to relearn. I haven't played it in a long time. Not that it's hard, but there's a few things I'd have to go and relearn. So that will make it back on the table. Kevin's going. Kevin says, I agree, Dave. Thank you. Mastering Inside Pitch, Strat Advance, and Apple Masters brought some pride for me. I have not done any of the Master stuff. I played a little bit of Apple Master. I have not played any Strat Advance, Super Advance. Not my thing. I like a nice casual baseball game. Payoff pitches as deep as I'm going to go with that. Apple Master was fun. Super fun. Just a lot to it. Vinny says, I'm certainly not against video games or PC games. I still enjoy them from time to time, but he likes the tabletop. Yeah. Yep. I think we all kind of like that. It's just more fun. But there are times when I'll pull out the PC here or whatever. Actually, I just put away all my consoles upstairs. We had a PlayStation and an Xbox upstairs, and I took them out and I put them away, and that's where I put the DVD player. So I think we're kind of done playing video games, at least in the console for a while. And the other thing about the console here is that you have to keep updating them. When I had the flood down here and I moved everything, and then I put everything, set it all back up. I have the Xbox and the PlayStation. Now, they're old. They're the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, so I can't even get games from anyone. That's. And when I plugged them in to see if everything worked, I immediately had all these updates, and I couldn't do anything until I did the updates. So even if I wanted to play a game, I couldn't until I get all the updates done. And then all the games have updates. It's like, oh my gosh. Or even on Steam, sometimes you go to play a game. It's like, oh man, I got this, 5 gig update. Oh my gosh. And whereas the Cards and Dice games don't really have those huge updates. They're, maybe once in a while a new rule set comes out or a new chart or something, but it's simple as printing something out. It really is. Cutter says he's playing less video games and more PC sports games like OOTP and Above the Rim and ASG Golf. Yep, that kind of falls into sports sims. So when I say video games, I'm thinking more, like I say, Madden, Call of Duty, and Skyrim, which was my favorite game of all time. I love the Skyrim. And John says, I used to love taking myself from high school to pros in some of the football games. Lots of fun. I did that too. That was fun. And he ran a Madden league one time, and he had off-season trades. Yeah, you can have fun with it. Again, I did. I had my fun with that. I remember one of the, I think it was a college game. I think it was college. It wasn't the 14. I think it was NCAA 12. I think I had. And I remember, that's a long, wow, that's 13 years ago now. Wow. And you played a couple games in high school, then you got drafted by college. And I remember I didn't want to be a quarterback because I've been a quarterback for 100 years. And so I says, let me be a running back, because a running back, you can run, you can catch, and you can block. And depending on the play is what you have to do. And so I was a running back, and I ended up getting couple of offers to go to college, and I ended up going to North Carolina, ironically, because I'd start as a freshman. The other ones I'd be on the bench. So I went and started. It was fun. The play gets called, and sometimes you're on the field, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're blocking, sometimes you're running, sometimes you're catching. I thought that was the most versatile position to play, but I had fun doing that too. Taking myself to high school, to college, and something like that. Some Road says, if anyone plays MLB The Show, try my roster memory lane. It's a fun Legends pack. So you can do stuff like that. And Michael says, Cards and Dice allows homebrew rules. Yep, that's another thing. Yep, so I'm gonna make that over here on my list. Home brew. Yep, and when you're playing video games, you have some sliders and some options and some things, but you don't nearly have the control over the game that you do on your tabletop. You can do anything you want. I mean, look at the XHL from Play. 2-point goals, maybe 3-point goals. I forget what they were. Pulling the goalie at certain times. You could do whatever you want in your tabletop, and you really are limited to what you can do on some video games. You can't get really crazy. Not that you want to get crazy, but again, when you're playing a game on the tabletop, let's just say I'm in Digital Diamond and I'm playing whatever game I'm playing. Digital Diamond's telling me the pitcher's fatigued. In the game I'm playing, the pitcher's not fatigued according to the rules. So I'm not going to have him be fatigued, because that's not how it is in my game. And so that's a very good point too, is the homebrew is really kind of good. The other thing I will bring up, let me see. Let's see. Fenner says, for video games like the parts of some games like Animal Crossing and World of Warcraft, we can craft some things together. Yep, I played a lot of Diablo. That was fun, and things like that. And Borderlands was really kind of fun as Brock comes by. Yep. Cards and Dice, yep, is much more personal. And yes, the tactile you get with cards you can't get in a video game. Yep. And Vinny says, he must be one boring gamer because he plays in silence, no gadgets or anything, and it's always 70s on his tabletop. I see. Again, I'm the opposite. When I go to bed, I have 3 different things going. I'm always listening to something. I can't go to sleep with the TV on. In fact, when I've split hotel rooms with people and they have the TV on all night, oh my gosh, I just can't sleep. I have to have the radio on, but I can't have anything like that. But when I am playing, I'll have something going on, whether it's YouTube or Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and then I'll have something else on my phone playing. So I'll have two different distractions going live, but that's just me. I need to have all kind of stimuli. So I very, very rarely play in silence. That's just me. I just need a whole bunch of things going on. And Barbara says that's what she likes about the homebrew rules. Play how you want to play, and you don't have to worry about anybody else. Yep. Yep. Vinny says his mind's eye covers everything. And Kevin says, I use PC board game companions for stat keeping. That's about it. That's what I largely use them for too, is the stat keeping, because the computers do a fantastic job of doing that. They take all the heavy lifting out, and the companions, boy, that it's almost the perfect combination. Having a companion where you can just have that doing your stats, and you tell it what to do, and it does it. So you have all the home brews you'll want because you're telling it what to do. I love companion apps, companion whatever it is. That iScore basketball that I use with Bankshot, I loved it. That was so good. It did everything I wanted to do. It was fantastic. Digital Diamond, Replay Baseball, even Strat PC Baseball, all does that. Excuse me, Paul coming out with the Pocket Pennant Run software now that does all the stat keeping. That stuff is just money, and I'm so glad that Action PC Sports is rolling into that now. I do. Oh, and I gotta order that. I gotta Action PC. I gotta make my note here. Action PC Hockey. I want to order that when I get done here. And yeah, video games are like movies, and cards and dice are like reading a book. Yep, it is. And we have Neil. Neil comes by and says, it's the anticipation of the result. Yeah, isn't that's something that, and again, I'm not trying to dump on video games. I'm just comparing them after 6 years of doing this board game stuff. The anticipation of that dice, either coming out of the chute or coming on your table or flipping that fast action card, you're either all upset or you're all happy. It's just when you're playing Apple and you see those doubles come out, it's pretty awesome. When you're playing Solitaire Pro and you see the breakaway come up, that's pretty awesome. There's so many awesome moments that you get on your tabletop. And I've had some really memorable moments in video games, and they've been really fun. And I've also had many, many memorable moments on my table. And the ones on the table felt a little bit more like I had some say in it. Well, again, the video games, my dexterity had the say in it. Whereas I'm rolling dice, I'm at the mercy of the dice. So I guess with video games, I would be contributing more because of my button pushing skills. But on the tabletop, when you're rolling the dice, there's something to that. There's also something about making the right choice on your tabletop. If you're like, do I take the shot? Do I pass? Do I run? Do I pass? Do I kick the field goal? Do I punt? Do I pinch hit for this guy? Do I do a suicide squeeze and have Michael Canistrari unfriend me on Facebook? Things like that. And when they work out, you just feel like such a genius. You do. And that's really kind of fun. And Kevin says in modern football, the D-man will drop back in the coverage. I just think that Apple football play was more of a pass is blocked and goes way up in the air. That's kind of how I read it, And Summerroad said he read The Martian first and loved the movie, but it did not compare to the book. Books are usually much better. And it's just because they do more. I read Jurassic Park, the book, and it had pterodactyl scenes, and there was no pterodactyls in the first Jurassic Park. And there was a scene where they're getting chased, and I think it was in one of the newer movies. They were getting chased in a boat. So Grant's trying to get them through, and they're paddling on a boat, and the Tyrannosaurus is chasing them. The kids are actually fighting in the boat. It's like, you got a Tyrannosaurus chasing you, and you're fighting with your sister. I mean, but all that was in the book, and it wasn't in the movie. But I always like reading a book, and then the movie comes out. It's always been kind of fun. Yeah, need to get History Maker back on the table. Yep, Vinny likes the History Maker too. Yep. APS is in the paint basketball for the PC, easy to learn. if you know basketball, it's much like the hockey game. I have it, and I didn't get very far with it because I don't know much about basketball. And I'm trying to learn. It plays similar to the hockey. Now, the hockey I know, so I know exactly what to do. With the PC, the basketball, I had a hard time with it. It's much like soccer. Sometimes there's a soccer game I play, and it's hard for me to get into the game of soccer because I just don't know the game of soccer. In basketball, I'm such a casual guy that when I played inside the paint, I didn't know what to do. I don't know about open guys, covering guys, or double teaming guys. That's why bank shot basketball, for me, just me personally, is the best game for me. I don't worry about that. I flip the cards, I roll the dice, I look at the cards, and I follow along. And I don't have to know basketball. I don't have to know anything about basketball to play that game. And so for me, it's better. Richard comes by, and Richard says, I think the best PC football game I ever played was Front Page Sports Football Pro Series, which is a great sim. I played that one time, and you might have heard me talk about it on the show, when I had everything set up over there, which was back in 98 or 99. And I had Front Page Sports Football on my computer. And I took San Francisco, and I'm trying to think what year was it. Well, we moved here. I definitely played it here, so it must have been 97 or 98. So it might have been 96 or 97 that I got the game. And I took San Francisco with Steve Young. I think it was Steve Young. And Steve Young got hurt in the first series of the first game, was out for the season. And I quit. I was like, I did not fire up this game and select San Francisco to play with the backup. I'm here to play with Steve Young. And so that was one of my experiences with Front Page Sports Football. You know, and yeah, Vinny says the helper on the PCs has been exploding, and they definitely can be very helpful. Yep. And well, the thing is, I'm not a raider in World of Warcraft, so I cannot relate. Bad example. Video games are cool. I played them for 30 years. They are cool. I got so many good times with them. I played so many hours of the video games. It was a great time. Yeah, I'll talk to you later, Vin. So yeah, don't go the internet route because I'm saying I like apples and I hate oranges. Okay, it's not what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of comparing from what I've learned about board games to what I did with video games. The other thing about the video games is, which is a bad thing, is that the consoles expire, meaning that I have a lot of my favorite games were on the Xbox 360, and that's not been a viable platform in what, 10 years or so. And so you have to find an old 360 that still works if you want to play your old games. And I'll have the Xbox One. Now that's gone. So now it's replaced. I don't even know what the new Xbox is called. Now it's the PlayStation 5. So my PlayStation 4, obsolete. So all those games I have on the PS4, I can still play them as long as the PlayStation doesn't break on me. But for the most part, it's they're done. And take care, John. Thanks for coming by. But with the cards and dice, I've had some cards and dice games here for all 6 years, and I can put them on the table and they never expire. It's not like they've gone out of service. They're still here. And I just, when I have these games, I look over at these games on my left, all my video games, and it's like that console that I have, I can still put it on and play. Don't get me wrong. But it's basically out of business because they've moved on to the next thing. And I just feel like I've left behind. All my games are now left behind. And it feels like with video games, you need to keep up with the new systems to stay viable. And the other thing is that when I played video games with people, every month there'd be a new game. And so I'd get the game and I'd play with something like, oh, we're already on the next game. And then in a month or two, a different game. Oh, we're all playing this game. And it's like, man, it's like I just started playing, this game with you, and now you're all onto a different game. And it was kind of like that episode of South Park when I think it was Stan would finally get the video game. Like, oh, we're not doing the video game anymore. We're playing on the mobile device. And then he finally gets the mobile device. Oh no, we're not playing on the mobile device anymore. We're playing on the tabletop. And he was just behind everybody as everybody kept moving on to the next greatest thing. And I had a lot of people that did that. And I remember the people we played the zombies with, they bought the new Xbox and we went with PlayStation. So we kind of stopped playing with them because we didn't go the Xbox route. We wanted to go PlayStation. And so now we get two systems that were incompatible. So we kind of stopped playing. This is kind of how that worked. The other thing that I noticed about video games compared to board games is the streamers. I've found that because video games are bigger and there's way more streamers and there's a lot more people watching, that when you go into a video game stream, there's not a lot of personal touch there because you're one of many. Your comments get lost and you don't feel like, you just kind of feel like you're in the back row kind of watching type of thing. Whereas the dice games, where there's less people in the room, there's less people playing certain things, it becomes more of it's almost like a one-on-one type of thing. It just feels like that. Even when I'm watching and typing, I'm conversing with the player playing the game. Whereas the video games, it really does kind of feel like they're concentrating on the game and they're so focused that they can't look away, or they have to pause the game, and then that just kind of distracts everybody. Whereas when you're doing the board games, you're not there for the visuals. You are there for the conversation. You're there for just kind of enjoying for what the game is. It's not so much enjoying the graphics. It's not so much enjoying, the shooting or the goal scoring or whatever it is. So, so that's the other thing. I found that the streamers a little bit more responsive with the dice games than the video games. What else did I want to talk about here? So we talked about how the PCs and the consoles, the setup is a lot less. You can jump right into a game rather than taking forever on the board here. I do like I say, using your imagination and exercising your mind when you're doing the board games here. That's one thing I still enjoy. I still enjoy forcing myself to learn a game and get it right and ask the questions, get frustrated when I'm playing it wrong, and then finally get it right. And, ask Joe Bryant and Grant 100 times the same question till they can say it in a way that I get it. Oh, yeah. But that's how I learn games is if I don't get it, sometimes I need to hear it 100 times before I do get it. And that's just kind of how it works for me. Triple G comes by. I was watching his 1977 baseball game before I jumped on here tonight. I go back. I'll probably put that on when I go to bed and listen to the rest of that. I was enjoying the baseball. I think it was the Royals you were playing, correct? So Triple G's playing some APA baseball. Always fun. Always fun to watch. You never watch a video game stream? I have. It wasn't my big thing. I did some video game streaming back in the day. Again, I didn't have a ton of people watching me. But I mean, I enjoy it. Sometimes it was kind of fun, but again, you're so focused on what you're doing and what you're doing on the screen that you don't have that interaction, except in like between matches or if somebody dies and they'll look at the chat or whatever. And there's usually a lot of people there, so it's kind of hard to get that, one-on-one, if you will. All right. Anything else I want to add here? Oh yeah, let's talk about the dexterity. I think I already did a little bit. Yeah, this can't do that anymore, and that was something that I talked about 6 or 7 years ago. I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't push the buttons fast enough. I couldn't push it when I was supposed to. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Because I had done it for so many years, I thought I could do it, and some reason it just wasn't working anymore. And so that became very frustrating. And that's one of the reasons I come over here. I still will play video games with a controller from time to time. I remember I was playing Skyrim, and then I bought the new Oblivion, and I was having fun. I just put on wicked easy mode, so it's super hard for me to die. And I just could play the game and enjoy it. Oh, that's the other thing. Hard mode. There's a stigma with video games, mostly with the younger people. And anytime somebody complains about the difficulty of a game and how they wish it was an easier mode, they just get dogpiled. And it's just like, well, why do you just want to do this? Why can't you just get better at the game? Just get better at the game. Dude, I'm 58 going on 59. I ain't getting any better at the game. I just want to play it and enjoy it. And if you don't have a level that I can play it at, okay, I'm not 22 with unbelievable hand skills. So if you don't have a level that I can play, I ain't playing it. So you lost a sale. So people, blah, 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 beating their chest. Oh, you can't play the game. You're not good enough. Yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So does that mean I can't play your game? And I'm not looking at the developers here. I'm yelling at the people who say all this crap, because there was a big debate a few years ago about easy mode, and there was so many people. It's like, well, you can't do it. You can't do it. Don't play. That's not really. That's how it is. What if we put stick shifts back? We get rid of automatic transmissions. Can't drive stick shift, then don't drive, right? So a whole bunch of those young people wouldn't like that. You can't be holding your cell phone while you're trying to shift gears. So that was the thing, is that if you just wanted to have a nice easy mode in the game, and that's the way you played it, we used to call it puss mode. When I was on the Game Hounds, it was called puss mode. And that's what I would play. Put it on the easiest setting possible and play the game. I just want to play it. And sometimes they just called it I think they called it like the walkthrough or something like that, where it was almost impossible to die. And the idea was just story mode. It's called story mode. And the idea was just to go and enjoy the game you're playing in story mode. And a lot of, why do we have to have this story mode for all these babies that can't play the game? Because of me. Because I like the game. It looks really nice. It looks like it's really fun. But I don't need to die 30 times an hour. That's not fun to me. And if it's not fun, I ain't going to play it. So, yeah, the hard mode thing, that was a big deal. Almost, it kind of bleeds into the dice world. It does. Whereas if you're playing basic, especially with, Strat or APA, there is you're playing basic mode? See ya. I get people that won't watch my stream if I'm playing basic. And, well, that's fine. So some of that bleeds over into our community too, whereas you're expected to play the game at the highest level. If you're not playing APA Master, if you're not playing Strat Super Advanced, whether it's hockey or baseball, then you're on the outs. I don't want, sorry. I'll check back later when you're doing something different. And I always found that to be weird. Why can't I play it my way? Why can't I play it on easy? No matter what I'm doing, video games or board games, I just want to play and enjoy it. I don't have to have all the switches turned on. They now, with video games, you now have like realistic mode, where if some of the games you could get shot 10 times and still be perfectly fine. Well, now they have the realistic mode. You get shot once and that's it. You're done. It's like, well, I tried that. It's not very fun. Just couldn't get into it. So the hard mode thing, it was kind of a big deal. Again, it didn't matter. I mean, you could play whatever you wanted to play it on, but there was a whole swath of people out there that were all over you if you didn't play at a certain difficulty level, which I think is kind of dumb. But anyway, so that is kind of me, just kind of talking a little bit about some of the differences between video games and the dice games, digital to dice, if you will, that I've noticed over the last 6 years. And so I thought it'd be fun to pick up the Video Diary series from where I left off 6 years ago, back in 2019, and add another edition. And I think this will be number 5. I can't find 3. I found 1, 2, and 4. So I don't know if I recorded 3 and deleted it or never edited it or whatever, but I found 1, 2, and 4. So I thought I would do 5. And do 5 tonight and just have a little chat with that about some of the different things. If I came across like I'm just dumping on video games, I'm not dumping on the video games. I'm just being honest as an older guy who started video games, 40 years ago in 1978. That's when I started video games, 1978. And I went almost 40 years ago. This is 2025. So 37, whatever, 38 years ago, whatever it was. And I'm just, now that I'm not playing them as much and I'm playing the board games, the dice games, if you will, these are just some of my thoughts as I've come out of one and into the other. And maybe this is just the evolution of things. Life is different at 58 than it was at 28 or even 38. Things that were important are not important anymore. And now there's things that are important that were never important back when you were younger. And so I'm kind of liking the slower pace of the dice games. I like the fact that I can just enjoy them and I'm in no hurry and I can play it my way and I can play it as fast or as slow as I want. And I can play whatever mode I want to play. And if I want to change something up, like I say, I've modded some things with Apple Football and Apple Hockey and a few other games. I was like, just made some slight changes to make the game funner, easier. Then that's what I'm going to do. And that's what makes it fun for me. And it's amazing. I couldn't imagine, I couldn't imagine myself doing this 20 years ago. Really, when I think about how deep I was in the video games and the fun I was having and how many hours I was putting into these games, if someone had showed me these games, I probably wouldn't have played them. I was like, no, I'm all set. I'm playing my video games. I like the visuals I'm seeing. Every year the graphics get better. You could do more of the games. Some of these games, the adventure games, are just fantastic. And so, no, I wouldn't have pulled myself away till I got to that point when I was older and I couldn't do it, So, yeah, and Sean, I'm reading stuff about that, the Xbox Game Pass. I had the I don't know what you called it. I had the Xbox, whatever it was. I had the $60 or $70 a year plan for Xbox and PlayStation, and it got you a few little perks and stuff. And again, it wasn't that much. It was $5 a month or something like that. But I haven't been on the Xbox in years, and so I know that they have some. They had this Game Pass thing going on, and it was supposed to be a good deal, so you could get access to the newest games without paying the $60. But again, you don't own it. You only can rent it for the time they're using the Game Pass. But I did hear that now they have different tiers of that Game Pass, and it's kind of shocking some people. So I did hear that. Yeah, that's one thing I don't think we really get in the dice world, right? We really don't get subscriptions, do we? I can't think of anything on the tabletop that we have for subscriptions in our community or a yearly fee that we need to pay. I don't think we have that. I know the Strat has a few things. If you want to play the Strat computer game there, the Baseball Max, I think it's called. So I think that's in there. Yeah, AppleGo as well. But again, that's not a tabletop. It is a sports sim, you're right. And just like the Baseball Max. And I didn't mind the AppleGo. the AppleGo is real close for me. If they made the AppleGo more like Action PC or Strat PC, if it was a self-contained program, I would probably pay the $20 a month for AppleGo if I could just play it like I was playing the other games, because I love Apple Baseball and I love the idea of playing any team in any season. I just could not figure out how to play any team any season. I couldn't figure it out and keep the stats for that season. That's one thing I couldn't do. I tried it many times and I gave up on it. You had to buy a folder or a bucket or a pocket. I think you had to buy something else, and then you needed to drop everything into that. It was I couldn't figure it out. It's like never mind. I like to see the card images. I like that you can roll your own dice. You can't doll it up like you can the other stuff, which I guess is fine if you're still going to play. But I couldn't even figure out how to set up a World Series. It just didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. That was the thing. And Kevin says he's 50-50 on AppleGo. The 50% that I like of AppleGo is the idea that I can play Apple. But beyond that, I can't figure out, aside from just picking two teams and playing one game, I can't figure out how to keep my stats. I can't figure out how to set up a season. I just couldn't do it. I tried it a handful of times, and I've had it 2 or 3 times. I get it for a month here and a month there. I just can't do it. I just can't figure it out. It's its own language, and I really, really just don't have the time to learn a new language. So that's one I don't have. And the Strat Max, I played that when it come out when it was free, and I did not like how long it took to sim the other games. I felt that killed the game for me. Is when you get done your game, you couldn't go on to the next game until you sim the rest of the day, and you could be there 10, 15, 20 minutes or so simming the rest of the games. And that's when I was like, yep, I think I'm done with this one here. So I did not care for that. And Kevin says you have to track everything. Man, I don't think it was quite that bad. I think I did find how to sim some games, but I couldn't figure out, like, you had to take results and drop them into a folder or something like that. It was weird. And there's people who are probably really good at it that it's going to tell me that it's easy, but I've tried it twice and I could not figure it out, and I just kind of gave up. And it's just too bad, because I really like Apple Baseball and I would love to have some projects going on that, but I don't know how to do a project on that. That's my thing. So anyway, that's the end of my talk as far as the Digital to Dice Video Diary number 5, just kind of comparing video games and dice games, and just kind of going over some of the, to me, my 58-year-old self, the pros and cons that I find with each. And yeah, I will say that as an older person, that some of the video game things are a little bit negative. Okay. And just because that's where I am. And years ago, it wasn't a problem, but now some of these things are a problem. Especially because I haven't played video games in probably 5 or 6 years, and all my consoles are pretty much obsolete. All my games I got, I didn't keep up with the new system, and by the time I do keep up, they'll probably be on to the next one. And I think you can change too quickly, because the Xbox 360, we had that for years. We must have had that for 10 years, maybe more, and that was the best. And then they come out with the Xbox One and the PS4, and then, like, it just felt like I was just getting into that, and then they come out with the new ones. It's just like you can't do that. You got to give me 10 years with something, or at least 10 solid years without saying, "Oh yeah, you can still play it, but this other one's coming out now." It's still not. It's not the same. It's just not the same. So, so that'll be that. So now, if you want, we can just kind of do a quick late night chat here. Now that we've gone over that. So this is kind of the open section of this. So let me kind of go back here. Okay, this is the open section now. So I've kind of done my rant. So if you wanted to hear the video diary episode, that is done. All my notes are made. And again, tomorrow night, somewhere between 6 and 7 Boston time, I'm scheduled to have Grant Fines come on and talk about this version 2 of the Quick Decks Hockey. Yep, and we have some new cards here that we're going to go over, and I won't show you what they are. I'm going to save it for tomorrow night, and we have some new boards and things over here. So we're going to take a look at all that tomorrow night, and I'm going to let Grant explain what it all is. So that will be tomorrow night. That'll be Sunday night. Hopefully, I'll be getting home around 5:30 or so, and then I'll have some dinner and set it up. So we'll try to get on around 7. I'll have to do some pre-gaming with Grant to see what we're going to talk about and get it all set up for you guys. So that'll be tomorrow night. So I won't probably have anything going on until tomorrow night. And some people like the hat. Yep. Yeah, I like the old the Funk logos. They need to go back to this. And Sean says he might be selling his Xbox Series X because of the increase of the Game Pass. Yeah, well, that's the other thing that video games did. They really went away from the discs to the streaming and the downloading and the whatever you want to call it, the virtual games. And in ways that was good because it was really kind of neat that I could just buy the hockey game and download it and start playing it without going to GameStop or waiting for it to come in the mail. So I didn't mind. I really didn't mind some of that stuff there. I have a ton of stuff on Steam. I love Steam because where you go, your games are all there. I really do like that with Steam. As long as Steam doesn't go out of business, but I do like that. So, some of the downloading stuff wasn't too bad, but there's a lot of stuff I had for the 360 that was a download and it's gone now because that's been shut down. So any games that I bought online, I can't get at. If I have the disc, I can play it. But some of those games, and someone else posted there were some of my favorite games on some of the older consoles. Yeah, some of those older games on the older consoles are still my favorite. In fact, there was not too long ago, me and my friend every Sunday we would drive around to the old video game store and buy those old games. We buy the PS2 and the 360s and Sega games and just $2 or $3 each. We'd come home, we'd spend $20. We'd get bags of stuff coming home, and maybe we play them, maybe we don't. But it was for $20. We had a heck of a time driving around, seeing the old games. It's like, oh, I remember this. I should get that. I should try to play that. We would get games, and we'd never ever play them. But for $1 or $2, they just sit in here, and maybe I would put them in and play them for 5 or 10 minutes. It's like, okay, I got my dollar's worth. Things like that. And Dom is a big Redskin fan since '66. Yep. I always like the NFC East, and I've talked about that before a lot here on the show. I love the Giants and the Redskins and the Cowboys and the Eagles and St. Louis Cardinals when they were okay. They're not good anymore, but in fact, I'm kicking around. So they just released 1986 on Apple Football, and I was talking to Juckett today on text, and I was like, 86 just come out. I don't have 80. I have 81, but I don't have 80. So I was like, do I get 80? Do I get 86? Because I got, again, 81, 85. So I could get 80 or 86. It's on either end of that. I don't have 83 either. I wasn't a big 83 fan. The Los Angeles Raiders were not my team at all. And he said that 85 and 86 were very similar. So he suggested for me, knowing me, I should go and get 80, which I probably would like. I was looking at some of the stats today. That's what I do. I get on Pro Football Reference, Pro Hockey Reference, and I just scroll through on the iPad all the time and look at the different stats and which teams would I like to play, and so I do that all day, not all day long, but you know what I mean. If I'm sitting down, just kind of spacing out, I'll do that. And David said he ordered his APA 86 today. Fantastic. I'm up in the air if I'm going to do 80 or 86. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do because I haven't played much 81. That's the thing. I played a little bit of 81, but not a lot. But I will say that 79, 80, 81, those 3 seasons, those were my big years for football. And I remember, exactly where I was living and, the TV I was watching when I used to look at the scroll bar at the bottom because they didn't really have a lot of that technology back then. But they would flash the scores, and I would be watching the Tampa Bay Detroit game. Tampa, can you get a win? We need a win. Can you beat the Lions? Can you beat the Lions? And I remember so many nights of walking the dog just before it get dark and smelling the leaves and going back into the house when it was cold and watching that 4 o'clock game and trying to get those scores. And those were the years for me, really. And no one ever won. That was the 80 was the year that the Oakland Raiders won, and they beat the Eagles. That might be a fun one that played that Super Bowl there. Patriots were better in 80 than 81. 81, they were terrible. 86 with the Giants. Giants weren't my thing. And I'm trying to think who they beat up. I'm gonna have to look now. Now you guys got me talking about it. Let me go see. So in 86, they beat Denver. They beat up Denver. And beat them up pretty good actually by 19. And on the Raiders in 80, they crushed the Eagles 27-10. But Eagles had that. They beat the Cowboys, and the Eagles beat the Vikings. So that could be a couple of fun games I could play. Tommy Kramer against Ron Jaworski. Wilbert Montgomery was there for the Eagles too. Patriots at 10-6. They didn't make the playoffs, but they gave it a good run. Bills were 11-5, and they lost to San Diego. And San Diego, Dan Fouts against Joe Ferguson. That could be another good one. But again, that's really close to 81, but I think it might be different enough. Giants were 4-12 that year, by the way. Yeah, that wasn't that good. Then get 80. Yeah, I'm kind of kicking it around. And 82 and 87. Oh, that's a good point there, Dom. Dominic says 82 and 87 were strike seasons. Yes. Yes, so if I have 81 and 83, there's no 82. And if I have 85, 86, there's no 87. And there's an 89, but I don't think there's an 88. So I like the fact that they're slowly filling these in. I really like that they're doing that. Kevin asks, are we going to get me back in the 84 MLB co-op? Yeah. That's why I bought 84 payoff pitch, and that's why I bought 84 APA so I could do that. It's just a matter of sitting down and playing it. I like to do the hockey co-op more because I can just play the game and photograph the score sheet and post that, and I don't have to do anything else. Whereas the baseball, there's a little bit more figuring out to do, I think, with the pitchers, although I think it went to as played, so now I can just play a game. But then I got to get my box score, and then I got to go in and put in the score and then fill in the box score of every player. So it was a lot more work with the baseball. So it's not just playing the game and posting the score sheet. I know that's real lazy of me, but quite honestly, it would take 15 to 20 more minutes after playing the game to put it in. And I like to put it in right away because I don't want to be holding anybody up if I say I'm going to play a game. And I think I've done that with the hockeys, that I've gone right in and put those scores in right away. So that to me, it's just, if I have the time, I definitely want to keep doing that because I have it in Strat, I have it in App, I have it in Payoff Pitch. So I definitely will be playing some of those. It's just a matter of, setting it up and going into Digital Diamond and doing it and then pumping out the stats and putting them in it's just an extra step that takes me, 15 to 20 minutes. So it's just a matter of time to do that. But I was enjoying that. So hopefully I'll get back to a few more of those. I do like the co-op product. It gives me a reason to play a game. The co-op projects, it gives me a reason to play the game aside from just doing a one-off for myself. I feel like it's kind of between a one-off, just playing for the sake of playing, and then a project that it's kind of in the middle. It's a nice mix. It really is. And let's see. Take care, Kev. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping things up too. He's watching Tigers and the Mariners. Yeah, they had some playoff games. It looks like the Yankees got beat up pretty bad, And Sean says he kind of likes the league that he's in, where They replay seasons together, but man, oh man, when a team starts to annoy you, it gets more difficult to play. He's starting to hate the San Francisco Giants. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That is the thing with that. And I was reading somewhere, I don't know if it was in the Sports Sim magazine. It might have been Sports Sim magazine. And somebody was talking about when you're trying to do a full season replay, whether it's one team or at some point you're going to be playing these teams that are just out of it, mathematically. And it's just, how excited are you going to get about that? Right. Interesting there. So anyway, all righty. Well, I've pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about tonight in the video diary number 5. I think I'll pull this out once in a while and give us something to talk about here as I continue my journey from digital to dice, if you will. This is kind of a little separate from the podcast. This is just kind of me rambling on. And I don't know, I found an old video. It's like, boy, it'd be kind of fun to get back to this series. Yeah, big gap in the series, 6 years in between episodes. But who knows? Hopefully the next one won't be 6 years. But I did want to kind of get on and just kind of talk about my thoughts and feelings about board games versus video games 6 years into my board game thing. So anyway, I was playing, actually, Sean's talking about me playing soccer, right? I was on with Ryan this week. It was Tuesday. And Ryan and I, he has the app of soccer, and he tilted his camera, and I was watching him play app of soccer for like a half hour or so. So, yeah, there was a little bit of soccer going on there, and I was kind of following along. It was okay. Again, I'm not a big soccer guy, but it was okay. It was okay. I'm not ruling it out. And at some point, maybe I would pick up the app of soccer in a season with a Revolution or something like that, or maybe Spain or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to look at it there. But I might pick up the app of soccer at some point and give it a go. But I would have to get the cards, though. The fast action cards kind of speed it up a little bit, it looked like. So, but I don't know anything about soccer. That's the thing. I know nothing about soccer. But it looked all right. But anyway, so, all righty. I am Dave. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night, probably around 7 o'clock Boston time. We'll have Grant on. We'll talk some 49 Quick Decks Hockey version 2. And I got to go and sit down and chill out here. And then when I go to bed, I'm going to watch, listen to actually Triple G's 1970s 7 baseball game. I like listening to stuff. He's got a nice, relaxing voice that I like to listen to at night when he's playing his baseball game. So that's what I'm going to be listening to tonight in bed. And we'll talk to you all later. Thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Because I just kind of continued the video diary series here just for fun here tonight. And we'll talk to you all hopefully tomorrow night. Bye-bye.